Excellent. Right. Well, thank you so much, Joy, for having us. Thank you, Orchestry, for letting us gate crash your webinar. Yeah, we're going to talk about. I mean, this is clickbait, isn't it? Really, run projects like a pro. But we're going to talk about how we actually run projects at iThink, and we use this with a number of customers as well, using Orchestry and Microsoft 365. I'll introduce myself. I'm Simon Doy. I'm a fellow Microsoft MVP in the M365 and the M365 developer space. I'm the owner and founder of iThink 365, or a small boutique Microsoft 365 specialist in business automation. Of course, AI agents and all of that at the moment. I run a user group based out of Leeds called M365 North. That's going to be 11 years old this year. And part of the maturity model for Microsoft 365 kind of core team. And if you haven't seen the maturity model and you're looking at how to leverage Microsoft 365 to get improved business benefit and impact, definitely recommend having a Google of that as well, or a Bing, of course, too. And I'm also involved in Viva Explorers. So let's get started. So first of all, what is it all about? Let's go through the agenda. We have to start with why. Another Simon, who's sort of more well known than I, always says we have to start with why. So we'll talk about why. Why would you want to even bother looking at using Microsoft 365 for project management? We'll talk about some of the issues with project management, and we'll have a sort of an opinionated approach which we use, and I'd love you to try it out and give us your feedback, and I'll have my contact details. We'll talk about managing guests. So it's a big part of project management, working with others, particularly people outside of your organization. So we'll talk about that, and then also managing the life cycle of those project workspaces, and then sort of kind of some food for thought, wrapping up next steps, things you can think of as well. And Linda, thanks for giving up your lunch. Right, so let's go into why. First of all, why would you want to use Microsoft Teams for running your project? What does it give you? Well, in my opinion, and I've been in some interesting projects over my years. Projects need a central source of truth. They need a place where people can go and find out what's going on. I've been lots of different projects running where project managers are sending emails out every 5 minutes with the latest updates to what tasks and what things are happening, and it gets very chaotic. Projects also, there's got to be a place for everyone to meet and collaborate and work together, and having a central place for that, so that all the collateral around a project, all the discussions, all the content that's being created can be held in one place, and it doesn't get lost or misplaced. And it's really important that we have a central place for communication. How can the project manager keep people up to date with what's going on? How can they keep stakeholders, the members of the team, whether they be within the business, customers, suppliers? So we need that central place. And so that kind of leads into some common issues we see with projects. There's often one of the ways to reduce the chaos. Mistakes are often made because information is old. As I mentioned previously, this project manager, this project where the project manager was sending out, maybe every sort of 2 or 3 hours, a new Excel spreadsheet with the latest task. It was so difficult to keep track of what was going on, and mistakes get made because people, lose their heads really, but lose the train of thought and what's going on with that project, and those projects become chaotic, and we don't want that. We want this to be easy to run and manage. And then the other thing that happens in projects is we, constantly have, you have meetings and discussions around the work streams around a project. Like we do a lot of development, so we might have daily stand-ups or weekly stand-ups with the customer. And often, if you don't have a central place, those meetings might happen all over the place, really. Different people might organize the meeting, and so recordings of those meetings or the actions are found in different people's OneDrives, and that knowledge is then lost and it's hard to find. And if we use Microsoft Teams, we can kind of bring that all together in one place. And then kind of as you go through and you the projects start closing down, we want to be able to tidy up after ourselves, tidy up the workspace, get rid of those project sites. But we want to make sure that the important sort of outputs are not lost, that they go into the relevant places, the relevant areas. You might have project sign-off content, you might have lessons learned or project retrospectives, and we want to capture those so that we can learn from those from the project, and what worked well, what didn't work well. So we need to be able to kind of close those projects down. So there's just some issues, some thoughts, and I just want to sort of present an approach which we use using Orchestry. So our approach is to use Microsoft Teams for running your project. We use Orchestry to create a base model project, which is a Microsoft team. And then we configure that with all the tools and things which most standard projects need. So, we'll create a plan, and we'll have planner in there so we can do task management. We make sure we add there's a team information tab with Orchestry, which allows you to kind of manage the users and add guests, and you'll see why we have that in there. We've got things like a calendar in there as well, so a channel calendar, so we can see all the meetings which are going on, and of course, documentation and all the project documentation we need to keep hold of, and so we have the files tab too. We also suggest. There's always a bit of a debate about, do you have a team per project, or do you have one team for your customer and then multiple channels for each project? And the way that we do it is we have a team per project, and that allows us then to have use the channels in a way that makes sense. So we'll have a general channel for communication. We'll have an internal team channel, which is a private channel where the internal team within that organization can talk about the project, and without maybe oversharing with the customer or with suppliers, sort of have that private area. And then we have a channel for hosting all the teams meetings, so that people have got one place to kind of keep up to date with what's going on, and you can sort of see that being provisioned.
Question for you on that.
Yeah.
Since you're doing a team per project, and I like how that means the channels can be very custom built for that particular project, and your files and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Are you then utilizing anything in like your SharePoint architecture, like a hub site where you can join all those customer sites to one central place? Yes. Okay.
So we've got a project hub.
Okay.
So we have a project hub, and then all the teams and all the workspaces, they all are associated to that project. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah. And we then have a naming convention to kind of link all the customers together.
Love that.
Yeah.
Very nice. Cool. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. So, so some of the benefits for this, if we're using within Orchestry, you've got this concept of a live template. So you'll create the way that we sort of work this is you create your Orchestry template, you create an initial Microsoft team, and then you customize that template for your project to get that team set up and how you want to, and then we'll update the template to use that model project team to be able to create new teams and new project workspaces. And some of the benefits of that is you get a consistent setup, look and feel. The people in the organization who are using this, they know where things live, they know how to use the teams and what to use. But the biggest thing, and this is kind of something which we had before, kind of tools like Orchestry, where if anybody wanted to make any changes to one of these templates, you needed to get a developer involved for that to happen. And now anybody can do that, provided they've got permission to do so. And so you can start to evolve your solution as you need to, and really sort of drive it in the direction which makes sense to your business. In terms of other benefits, you've got great document management with SharePoint and Teams. We've got a simple task management with Planner, but effective. We've got a place for collaboration to happen across the whole project team, an internal area for the teams to communicate. And we've got a place where we can capture the meetings. People can kind of catch up with what's going on, capture all the actions. And if we need to provide easy access to other tools and information, then we can use Teams to do that. So what does that kind of look like in principle then? So if I find my tab, there we go. So we've got our Microsoft Teams set up here. We've already gone on to Orchestry, and we've got a iThink 365 client project workspace. So I will just provision one of these. We are using document templates. So we've got, when we start a project, we have like a discovery workshop which we run through, and we've got a template in there as well. So an iThink branded one, but you could use this to add in any of kind of the documentation around your project. And so that's a good place to start. We'd give it a name, so I will call it, because everything's Copilot agents, so let's do one around that. We capture metadata around so who the customer is, the company is, and then the name of the project as well. So I'll just put that in here. And you can see we have a naming convention set up. So we start all our projects with PROJ dash and then N dash team. We also have a naming convention for the URL as well, which follows that same syntax. One of the things we make sure we've got at least 2 owners. So we specify at least 2 owners. I'll add a couple of my team in. And because this is a project area, we've defaulted and set up the template so it's a private workspace that's being created. And if we wanted to start adding guests in here, we could, but I'll leave that till a little bit later. So off it goes. It's going to go and provision that. So what does that look like? What does a team area look like? So one of the nice things, and one of the problems sometimes is when you're doing these demos, is you get live chats, but let's see what happens here. So
you're living dangerously.
That's right. Yeah. One of the nice things, I can find all my projects through this way. I can just use the PROJ dash to find those projects, and I'll find one that I've created earlier. So let's have a look here. So this one is one we created earlier. In here, as I talked about, we've got our different channels. We've got our different channels. We've got general, we've got our internal channel, and our Teams meeting channel. In the general channel, we've got sort of the obligatory files tab. We've got the team information tab as well, and I'll talk a bit about why we've got that. We've got a link to OneNote. We've got a link to Planner as well. I'm actually a big fan of Planner, so we can use that just for kind of keeping track of what's going on, particularly in meetings. I use it. And finally, we've got a link to SharePoint as well. So the reason we put the homepage from SharePoint in here is that some project managers like to be able to kind of set the scene using SharePoint news stories, and if you've got an intranet in place as well, and maybe stakeholders have got access to your project team area, they can see those news stories bubbling up onto the internet homepage, provided you've got it set up in the right way. But they can then set the scene and keep people up to date with what's going on there as well. The Teams information tab is really useful. So this is part of the Orchestry platform, and we get common links to the SharePoint sites, the document libraries, to the plan. But most importantly, actually, is you can sort of start to see the users that are in your project area, and we can add guests in there, which we'll do shortly. As I mentioned, we've got the Teams meetings area, and at the top we've got posts, which is where our meetings will go into. We've got a calendar in here as well, so people can sort of view what's going on, if it will go into it. Yes, it does, and see what's going on. And it's just something I just kind of wanted to, we're talking about some tips and tricks. So we set up meetings in a Teams channel, and that's allows us then just to kind of keep track of everything that's going on. We record meetings. We've got the ability to then recap, use things like Copilot, if you have those licenses as well, and just be able to kind of keep people up to date with what's going on. And if people miss a meeting, they go on holiday, they have a clash, they're able to kind of keep track. And just show you an example. So we're going to schedule a meeting here, and it might be like the weekly customer stand up, and we can choose to invite all the people in. We'll record and transcribe the meeting, and I will use the English UK version. This will invite everybody who's part of this team. But one of the things I really love is the agenda feature, so we can then use that really to set the expectations of what's going to happen on the weekly stand-up. So we can talk about, what did we do this week, what is planned for next week, any blockers, and we can then capture what's going on, the tasks within that meeting, within the notes of that. And so this is what we'd set up. We have a project kickoff, we will work with the customer and we'll find a suitable day and time, and then we'll meet up with them at that time. So I would then send that off. So just a couple of nice features. And so now that meeting lives in that channel. As you start to run through each week, you'll then be able to go in, you'll be able to see and get a recap on those meetings and what's happening if you need to, which can be really, really useful when you're running a project. Like, what is it that we did say we were going to do, or what did the customer say they were going to do? It just helps keep that transparency.
I had a couple of questions coming in. I think you just answered one, elaborating or show what a Teams meeting channel is. So Neil, kind of what he's walking through, I guess it's not new anymore. It's been around for at least 2 years, I think, channel meetings, letting you add a series of meetings to any channel in Teams. And people that are members of the team are automatically invited to that meeting.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Just another question. Do we use Planner Pro? We do have licenses, but actually we just use the normal Planner. We have got access to it, but we just find it. We don't. I guess our projects are not are able to take use of Planner, that's how we work. Cool. Right. Okay. So if I was to, I think we can now see that's all been provisioned up down the bottom here. Let me think. Is there anything that I've missed out? I think that was about it for a demo.
Let me ask you one more question before we move on.
Yeah.
Scott's asking, are you moving any of this methodology based heavily in Teams over to Loop at all? Or would you say the overlap or redundancy is too much and just clutters the situation?
So it's something which we're thinking about. Do you know, for me, the problem with I love Loop, right? But I want to be able to kind of poke and prod it with code, and I can't do that at the moment. So we haven't gone down that route. as yet, but yeah, watch this space. It's something which we'll have a look. Need to have a look at. But also, I mean, what is nice about this, if you are using Loop in a team, you can now share that with your external users as well. So they've got access to that. So if you are using Loop components and things, then you're able to share those via the team, and other people can get access to them as well. And there's another question, wasn't it, around was it can I create a template that includes a pre-populated planner plan? Do you know what? I don't know.
That's a yes.
I
using Orchestry.
Yeah. I thought
but it gets complicated, and I see you, Bethany, or even a template for a plan that doesn't require a team. That's because that gets tricky. I know there's that whole like roster plan situation, but to be honest, I've not stayed up to date on that piece of it.
Yeah. The bit that I haven't talked about is the configuration of the template. So we'll go into that because we'll pick up on that. There's some more questions in there. Is there an advantage of Teams channel meetings over using link meetings in calendar app? Actually, I mean, they're both the same. Like if you go into the calendar, we should see that that meeting in there, and also in your Outlook as well. So you get the best of both worlds, really, because I mean, underpinning Teams is a mailbox, is a shared mailbox. So let's go into Orchestry and the setup of this, because that's the bit that I haven't talked about yet. Just so you can all sort of take away and try it out. That's what ultimately I'd love it, and feedback how you get on. If we go into workspaces and templates, we've created our client project workspace here, and every time I've been presenting this, I haven't chatted so much, so it's always been locked. But we give it a nice name. We give it a description to explain to the the users what's going on. Why would you want to use one of these templates? We make sure we enable that Teams information tab. We've got a nice little graphic there as well. And then we're positioning it number one because it's kind of one of the most used templates in our organization. Nice little feature here as well is down the bottom, show this template as an option in the workspace type filter. And I'll show you how that might look on a Project Hub SharePoint site. So that we've got a few settings there. As I mentioned, we're using a live template. Here you go. So yes, obviously there's a copy tasks and buckets. So we'll copy all of that. So we, as I say, the first time you create this, you don't have a template to work on. Create your first team, call it model, and then you can then run it again, assign it the live template that's just been created, and make your configuration changes. But we just switch everything on, and then in terms of policies, we're going to sort of delve into this a bit more, but we set up an archival policy, which we'll talk about. There's the new review policies as well, which are configured for this demo, and also we make sure that we're managing the guest process. So we've got a guest request policy, which we'll talk through, and then a review policy as well, so we can make sure we clean up our project workspaces as people leave the project or the organization, I guess, as well. In terms of configuration, I don't know why we're not set sensitivity levels. We should do that, really. But we've got them all set up. But anyway, so we've got it's a private permission, so it's a private workspace. We make sure that we've got a minimum of 2 owners. As I mentioned, we've got a naming policy in place with that PROJ. We want to capture some metadata around the workspace, so we use the subset of enabled metadata, so we don't have to capture everything, just the things we're interested in. And there's a few things here, just making it so it's visible and can be emailed. The one that I really want to call out is the external access. We want to allow existing guests to have access. We don't allow new guests through this means, and we want to set up the link permission type to be default to people with existing access, so we don't overshare by mistake. And we use View, but you know, if you said to me, oh, well, actually, we want people to be able to edit more easily, then you could switch that. But that's what we do. We allow people to kind of add features if they need to. The one thing we do, and yes, it's a private channel, we add our iThink 365 internal channel in there.
Nice.
And as we saw earlier, we've got some documents which we add in here. The last two things in terms of security, we just let anybody to request on these templates, and we do have an integration. So we talk to a Logic app actually, and that's the bit you were talking about, the hub configuration. It does some hub configuration and stuff. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah, so that's quite cool. All right, so I see there's more questions.
Yeah, we've got some good conversations going on around like channel meetings and all that. Now, one here that I'm kind of pondering, is there a way to get an executive level view of all projects without having to go into each one? Now, this feels like a job for Power Platform.
Yeah, or I guess, I mean, I guess what you'd probably do, and I guess the executive level view is, can I see a status of all the projects? But if you had maybe if you had a in your SharePoint document library, you had a particular content type, and that was the project executive status report, whatever that might be, being able to then use some metadata to kind of pull out RAG status, or maybe some sort of like key metrics, and then you could then have a project hub sort of SharePoint site and kind of roll that information up. You could use something like the PMP search web parts to be able to do something like that. I don't know if that's quite what you're thinking, Christina. I guess that's what I do. But yeah, like you say, Joy, you could sort of do something with the Power Platform. We have a Power app, so it's a model. We have a model-driven app. It's called iDeliver. We have our weekly status reports go in there, and then we send those out. So that's kind of how we would do it, and we'd give a view across that. Yeah.
Good cool. Call out here too with the new planner, which, I mean, honestly, it's just a package around project in a lot of ways. So that is definitely a more robust project management type tool. Simon, as you said, a lot of places will find it to be kind of bloated and overkill for medium to small projects, in my opinion.
Yes, yeah, I think that's true. But yeah, I guess that would give you an executive view of tasks, isn't it? I guess it's what needs to come out of that executive view. For me, I'd want to know, is it on time, budget? What are the risks and issues? That's probably what I'd want to know. So yeah. Cool. Okay, so that's a demo of the approach. I hope you found that useful. How are we doing for time? We're a little bit later than normal, but that's what always happens when you do these things live, isn't it? So that's all. We've got time. So we're good.
We'll behave for a minute.
No,
or two.
No, not at all. I think it's great. It's where we all learn, isn't it? By people asking questions. It's just what it's all about. So it's really good. So yeah, thank you for all the questions. Right. So the one thing that this. Like one of my favorite things, and actually we see this a lot with kind of regulated industry, where they're looking for how to manage guests. So guests are people who you invite into your Microsoft 365 world, into your tenant, and they then have access to the areas which you give them access to. So for a project, if we're working with customers and other suppliers, it's really important that we be able to invite them in and work into this one central place. And one of the nice things about Orchestry is its guest management feature, I think it's really powerful. And to be honest, the best bit of it is this justification box. Just being able to see why it is that somebody was added to the team is really important. So having this guest management in place, we can kind of control and audit who's got access from outside and whether they still need access. And most importantly, we can identify when people can be removed. And so you can see there that we've got Satya, who was being invited into a project. And so, he's part of the project team. So just as an example of that. And I hope, if you're not using this, then I hope you have Orchestry, then you will be. How to get this set up. So we'll go through a demo of this, but we want to allow guest access for workspaces and want to use the Orchestry approvals to do that. We want to switch that guest justification on, and then we want to capture some details from the guest. First name, last name, email, job title. But having the company and the mobile phone, I think, is really important as well, because at least, if you need to validate who somebody is, or you have you've got some more stringent sort of IT security processes, if you've got a mobile phone, you can get in contact with them, to check out they are who they say they are, for example. We also enable the guest name configuration as well. So you can see there, we've got the first name, last name, and in brackets, the company name as well. So it just makes it easier for people. If you've got lots of John Smiths or Jane Smith maybe as well, to make sure you're picking the right one from the right company. So yeah, let's have a quick look at what that looks like. So going back into the management side, I'm going to go down to guest management, and I'm going to go down to policies. In here, we're not a big organization, but we have our guests are authorized by myself, really, by the senior team. And I think now, if you're a bigger organization, you might have a central IT team that do this, or maybe the project management office have been trained up, and they could do it, something like that. In the guest requests, we switch on Orchestry approvals. I should say, of course, actually as well, that you need an Entra P1 license, don't you, as well? And we will switch on the guest justification, and we then capture these key information, including the company and the mobile phone, just so you can sort of see it. You couldn't really see that from the PowerPoint slide deck, but we will configure that the display name of the guest using first name space, last name space brackets, and the company brackets, and just it makes it easier for people to kind of find the right person. In terms of sort of policy execution, again, you might have a set of users or groups. You probably would be better to have a group of approvers, and we give a good explanation as to why people are receiving this. We give people quite a lot of grace to be able to go through and approve the guest, and then the last thing is we just make sure we switch on all the notifications, so people who like email will see it, people who like Teams will see it as well. So that's great. So kind of what does that look like from a sort of a Microsoft team and project approach? Well, if I just do my proj, have a look at this project we created earlier. We go into the team information tab. If you don't have guest access enabled on your team, you're not going to see this. So you have this add guests workspace action, and from here we might search if there's somebody who's already existing, as I did John Smith from Microsoft earlier, then he will appear. But if we've got another John, then we'll put in his email address at, I don't know, bob.org, and provide the first name, last name, company name. If it's already existed, it will pop in here as well. So we'll just add Bob. We'll say head of projects. Put in the country, mobile phone, and then the justification. So part of the project stakeholder team. So I'll click on confirm and add, and that will then send off the request, and we'll see that pop up. So it's really, a nice kind of way of just being able to manage the process of adding people in. I get a notification here, and I'm able then to go through, and I shall reject this because I don't really want this guy to be coming into our
Not
tenant.
that guy. I will call out here those details, those guest details do get written to the guest record in Entra.
Yes.
Could you do this without Orchestry? Absolutely. You could put up custom processes and things like that. So if you're not in a space where we really can't do a third-party tool, all of the things you're seeing could be done, Power Automate, logic apps, scripts, things like that. So keep those creative juices flowing. Just thought I'd add that real quick.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. If you were going to go down that route, I would certainly think the logic apps makes a good route because, at least fair enough, you've got a cost there, but you haven't got maybe the additional cost of Power Automate. But I guess if you've got spare Power Automate licenses, then you can make use of those. But I'm not sure many people do. So yeah, cool. Okay, so I think that's going through sort of guest management and that process of adding guests in there. What am I missing? Of course, I'm missing the review process. So what we then have is over time, these guests, they're going to be working in your projects and they're going to be maybe leaving the project. So we've also got then that guest review process. We run this by running every 6 months. And we get the workspace owners because those are the people who will generally know who should have access, who's working on the project. And so they will then get a notification to be able to sort of say, right, please could you have a look and review the people who are guests in your team, make sure they still should have access. This one we do escalate up because we don't want to have people who are we want to make sure we get people out of the project if they're no longer involved in it. And so we do escalate this, and actually we're quite draconian in that we will remove anybody who hasn't been reviewed from the group as well. So we're just removing that security risk there. And that might be something that makes sense to your organization due to kind of like your security posture or not. So you've got a couple of options there as well. And of course you want to make sure that people can find that. But again, like Joy was saying, you could put in sort of Power Automate or Logic App processes, maybe executing sort of PowerShell to kind of track this information. You just need to make sure you're doing it regularly enough because you have a limited amount of data in terms of like when people signed in and things like that. So that's the process. And Joy, the bit that this is great at doing, so this will take people out of your workspaces, out of your projects. But for those who've left an organization and need to come out of the whole out of your tenant, then we would kind of recommend a review. And this is where I'm really opening myself up now, aren't I? We can then sort of do a review of the guests and things here.
Yes.
And we sort of suggest you do that every kind of 6 months. But I think, is there a feature coming which will allow that review?
So if you go back to your guest management section and down to policies, call out to, we do have the guest review policy that you can have associated at creation that just encourages either IT people or the owners, whatever makes sense, to go back and say, hey, take a look, make sure they should still be there. And we've got that as part of our new workspace review policies too.
Yeah, okay.
So a couple of different ways. Karen, as I hinted to you a minute ago, guest management's going to actually be evolving quite a bit over the next 6 months or so. So stay tuned. Dave, we should talk because I would love to hear more about your use cases to kind of help shape the future there. So I'll stop talking now so you can keep going, Simon.
Cool, thank you. All right. Okay, no, it's all good. Okay, so it's something we talked about. Now we're going to talk about just the sort of the life cycle of the project workspace, and making sure that we kind of tidying things up, and talking about how we might capture some of those important documents as well. So what we set up is we, and it really it depends on your business, but we set up an archival process. So we move the SharePoint site into a sub-site. I'm sure people might suck teeth maybe, but I just find that then you've got everything kind of as it was. We put it into a well-named SharePoint site called Archive Projects Team. And we do sort of set the automation of that. There is obviously a check before that happens, but we run that every 6 months, 180 days. So we set that up. Some of the recommendations which we use is, as I mentioned earlier, we export all the posts, so we've got capture of that. We remove the site from search. We rename it and give it a nice sort of name so we know that it's been archived. We also make sure that we're removing it from being sort of visible to Outlook and email. And then finally we extract the permissions as well. So if we did need to kind of recover, we could do that. One of the challenges we talked about is, well, how do you make sure you keep key project content? And so we use this is using Power Automate actually. This is an integration, and it gets executed. And we've got, do you know what, I haven't even shown you. I'll have to show you. In the Files tab, we have different folders for our different stages of the project, and one of those folders is the project closure documents. So let me just quickly go back to that, because that is I apologize. I meant to go through that. So we within the sort of the files area. So let's just pop this in here. We've got a project closure and retrospectives folder, and so we will then grab everything from there, and that gets basically put into a project SharePoint site, into a special document library for project closure documents. And so that's how we kind of capture that. We don't do lessons learned, we do retrospective. So we will sort of ask the customer and the team members, what went well, what didn't go well, what would you wish you'd have known at the start before we start the project, and then we actually rate the project as well. So that's kind of how you can retain that key project content. I'll just go through just the setup of this and how we're doing for time. Okay, I think we're okay. So let's just go into here. So in terms of life cycle, we apply this at the project. We create some policy. We apply these policies to that project template, and we've got this archival policy here. So we've got a iThink 365 project workspace lifecycle archive policy. We give it a reasonable name, description. We're applying it to a Microsoft team. As you saw earlier, we moved to a SharePoint sub-site, and we've linked it into a well-named SharePoint site. In terms of the actions, so this is what we kind of go through. We're exporting all the posts into Excel. We're removing the site from Search and Copilot. We're renaming the site to have the dash archived. So it's just adding this suffix on the end. And we also process some of the documents and just keep the major versions. We'll just reduce our SharePoint spend a little bit. And we configure the Exchange settings, remove it from the global address list and all that email-y stuff. And we will make it so that anybody who's got access to the archive can access this content too. And this one down the bottom will extract the configuration of all the permissions. And then finally, we've got that integration, which is there as well. So in terms of like how we execute the policy, we get the workspace owners to basically say whether they need it or not. So they get an email. We'll give them, 5 weeks to make a decision, but we'll allow them to kind of renew that, to extend the lease on the project. And if there's no action taken, then it gets escalated to myself. So that's how we work. And then we notify everybody through email and Teams as well. So yeah, I'm just conscious of time. So so that's sort of a brief view. I was thinking about doing a demo just to show you the archive, but I think I'll move through so that there's time to catch up on questions and things at the end. So we're wrapping up now, really. Joy, is there any questions which we need to ask?
Looking through, I think we're doing good. You are officially a rogue though, Simon, because that archive to subsite is officially deprecated in Orchestry.
Is it? Oh my goodness. Oh no. Okay. Well,
just saying,
okay.
Subsite's bad.
Okay. Well, this is very true. It's very true. But then you have all the structure. Yeah. Well, I will have to
Yeah, so you'll notice when he was on that screen, there was this little red exclamation point on that step. For the folks that still have it in play, it still shows up.
Oh yeah, you're
but
right. Yeah.
It's not. I know some people. See?
You see, I will have to change it. That's the problem, isn't it?
No,
that's what we said. We all learn something every day, eh? So
every day. But when you do the move to SharePoint archive, it gives you a built-in checkbox where you can designate a hub site, because we hub don't sub in the modern world. And you can totally set that up, but we don't take it away from people. As you can see, we don't take it away from people that are using it. We'll just let that kind of evolve as it needs to in those organizations.
Well, I will evolve to that move to the archive now. So yeah. Cool. Okay. So so wrapping up really, and sort of next steps. Ultimately, these workspaces are so powerful, and I really hope that you can take away some things and use them. Maybe not now do the archive using subsites, and then just improve your project delivery capability. And I'd like you just to sort of think about how you could use what you've seen in your organization, and hopefully there's a few nuggets in there which have been really useful. Thinking about where it could go, what's next, where could it go, what would make life easier for you and for your teams in your organization. One area which we are sort of going to be looking more into is introducing more project documentation into our template. So like we had the discovery workshop document, but we also have a project kickoff document template as well, and we might also introduce documents around how to run particular types of project services or implementations. So that could be an example. Maybe you might think about like automating the provisioning of these workspaces from something else. Maybe you've got a project management system, or you might use things like ServiceNow or something like that. You could then automate that provisioning from there as well. So that's it. That's me. So thank you for your time today. And if you need to get hold of me, you want to have a chat about anything, then please reach out. There's my email, LinkedIn, and you can access our website as well. So yeah,
We
cool.
did see Sean had joined late and he does have some questions, and we do have a few minutes, Sean.
Yeah.
Do you want
Okay.
to?
Yeah.
Yes.
And apologies for joining late, and I will listen to the recording and go through it. But I suppose the scenario I have is I'm looking to utilize Microsoft Planner.
Yeah.
You know, at the moment we have glorified spreadsheets in Excel to help define phases and dates and so on, you know, and
Yeah.
simple structure. So my aim is to create, using Planner to create a basic template, phases, typical durations that will be, and then add that Microsoft Planner template to a workspace template that we have.
Yeah.
Right. So so that's the first thing, and the second thing is also add things like an actions list, you know, from SharePoint for tracking actions across the team. So that was my second objective.
Would you not use the planner to track those actions? Because if you do it that way, then they will then have access to those actions as tasks in Planner, in Outlook, and so you know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Simon. Yeah. See, I haven't delved much into Planner. But yeah, if there's a task action list that can be assigned and has capability around it, that's great. So that's my first question. Is it possible to create a Planner template that's typical and added to a workspace template that's automatically created every time I create a workspace?
Yeah, so
you've probably, if you've gone through this, I don't want to be wasting your time. I can look at the recording. So
yeah, so that's what we do actually. Yeah, so this proj model is the team that is like the basis of all projects, and that has a plan and a plan in it, and you can configure that. Someone else was asking the question as well. You know, do the things which you create in the plan get copied across into your new workspace? And they do. So yeah, you can configure those. So yeah, maybe you've got your project process of you know, project kickoff, or making sure we've got budgets in place and cost codes and all those things. So you could have those started. And make those available.
Yeah, Simon, in the workspace, Joy helped us create it, but basically set of folders that we maintain, and within those set of files, so we have a kickoff folder and we have some kickoff templates in PPT and so on. And overlaying on top of that, I was looking to have then the planner. So if that's possible to do, that's great.
Oh, so blending the SharePoint structure and planner structure, or
yes. So I'm creating a new workspace today, let's say for a new customer, and as well as the default set of folders and files within those folders that are created today, I also want straight out of the box a planner template that basically I need to maybe fine tune in terms of durations based on the scope of the project. So I want that, rather than people having to go to Excel, and I want I think visibility to everybody as well as simplicity when creating a workspace. That's the idea. So
so I mean, I think you can configure your plan as you need.
Okay, so it can be done.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. In terms of planner, if what I thought you were wanting to is blending like the information in SharePoint with the information planner, that might be a bit more tricky. I'm sure there are some things we could think out. But if it's having a plan, you know, and it set up and configured in a particular way, as long as it's in the constraints of what planner can do, then fill your boots.
One last question, and I'll shut up then and be quiet. Right. The one thing that I had seen before around Planner, which is a kind of a constraint, is the lack of Gantt charts. Is there Gantt chart capability now in Planner?
That's a premium feature, isn't it? I think so.
Unless you have Orchestry.
And then, well, that is right. Yes.
Speak,
I saw that.
Speak, Joy. Speak.
So Orchestry, while I talk, I'm just going to put up a couple of closing slides. But Orchestry does have 5 custom web parts that come with it. And one of those is a planner web part that lets you see that more of a Gantt view of your planner plan. So you'll have that, as well as like a workspace details web part, the workspace information web part, things like that. But Planner is one of the, I think it was the first custom web part we created a few years ago because we got tired of there not being one.
Yeah.
So you have it, Sean.
Excellent.
Yes.
And do guests then, if I add guests to a workspace, they have access to view the Gantt chart, yeah?
I'm going back and thinking about guests because not all web parts work well with guests, but I think the planner one does. I think it's like the people one that, like, at the default one, they couldn't see pictures or something. But I think the planner one should be fine.
Okay, I might need to set up a call with you, Joy or Simon.
Do it.
To discuss that. Great.
I'll flip. So for anyone that might want to see more about Orchestry, you can get in touch with us. We can install it in your environment, a demo environment. You get 28 days to play with all of the features. You get all the things. If you have questions, you want to reach out to me. This is me. So you are welcome to. If you don't have my email address, or you can find me in Teams too. That's easy too. But yeah, totally, Sean, reach out. Stephen, so Joy, I saw you. You need to reach out to Dave. Find me.
I'm going to jump in, Joy. We do have Orchestry, our company, and we started using it a lot over the last year, and it's been very, very helpful. And I'm just giving you yourself and the team a plug there. It's really helpful, but not just from a time perspective, but also from a security perspective in terms of managing guests and all that kind of good stuff, which is very important for companies nowadays. So, well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. But yeah, definitely let's talk. We can talk through some things. I might even show you some new stuff that's hit recently. You might haven't had a chance to poke at.
Thank you very much.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And everyone, thank you for being here. Those of you that have held on for the full hour, you're the champions. You're the heroes. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time and giving up your hour. It's been really good fun. Thanks for all the interaction.
Yes. And Simon, thank you. It's your dinner time too.
Enjoy. Yeah, that's been really good. It's been really good fun. Look forward to the next one.
All right. Well, everyone have a great rest of your day wherever on this great world you are.
Have good weeks. Cheers.
Bye.